Welcome to the Topper Shotgun Collector Project. Today we're going to be looking at the New England Firearms Tracker, the last of the smoothbore slug guns from H&R. And we'll also review the history of all the smoothbore H&R slug guns produced by H&R through the years. Of course, any topper can shoot slugs, but what makes a slug gun is the adjustable sights. It's also said that the barrels of the slug guns were specifically bored and treated to handle slugs. It's hard to confirm if this was marketing hype or reality. Let's first dig into the history of H&R's slug guns. And then we'll take a real close look and a range trip with this NEF Tracker. For H&R, their first line of smooth-bore slug guns was the Buck Model 162. The 162 existed from 1968 to 1986 in 3 different variations. The first variation, that ran from 1968 into 1970, had a snap-on forend, a blade front sight dovetailed into a heavy barrel, and a fully adjustable Lyman rear peep sight. It had a 2 3/4-inch chamber. They were made in 12 gauge only and had a 24-inch cylinder bore barrel. The second variation, which ran from sometime in 1970 to 1972, kept the peep sight, but also picked up the 3-inch chamber and the screw-on forend. In my opinion, this is a nice catch because you get the tradition of having the Lyman peep sight, but you get the modern advantage of the 3-inch chamber. This second variation, Model 162, that you're looking at here, belongs to Ben. He was in our Topper Folks Volume 7 episode. And the third variation, which were built in the Gardner factory starting around 1973-74 and ran till 1986, they had the transfer bar safety. They lost the peep sight and picked up a fully adjustable rear folding sight. And they also started to offer it in 20 gauge from 1973 to 1977 with a 22-inch barrel. And also we have the 176 10-gauge slug gun. It was built with the heavy frame. After the demise of the original H&R company in 1986, New England Firearms took over the Gardner factory until 1991. During that time, there were no smoothbore slug guns made by H&R or NEF. In 1992, when H&R 1871 took over the Gardner factory, they introduced the Tracker and the Tracker 2. These were basically modernized 162 bucks, except the Tracker was a smoothbore slug gun and the Tracker 2 had a rifled slug barrel. Otherwise, they were both virtually identical, and they were each offered in 12 gauge and 20 gauge. They were offered from 1992 to 1999, and after 1999, there have been no more smoothbore slug guns offered by H&R or NEF. And that's what we have on hand today to take a look at. The last of the smoothbore topper slug guns offered by NEF or Harrington and Richardson. This tracker was built in 1997 at the Gardner factory by H&R 1871 and branded as an NEF. It has adjustable sights atop a 24-inch cylinder bore barrel with a 3-inch chamber. It has a transfer bar safety, color case hardened frame, and a nice soft recoil pad. This particular model is in 20 gauge, although they also came in 12 gauge. A couple things I noticed on inspecting the gun. If you notice the tracker's on the bottom, there's a Model 58 on top. The tracker has that really tall, high rabbit ear hammer like the Model 88 used to have. And the 58 has that more laid back ear hammer like the older guns. And another thing I noticed is that the tracker's stock didn't fit as well as the Model 58 I'm comparing it to. Remember we noticed this on the Model 88. The stock seems thick. There's a few millimeters of wood sticking out on either side of the frame on the back of the gun. Not a problem, but it's just something to notice. It is very much like the Model 88. But even though the stock didn't fit all that well, it was absolutely beautiful. That bottom stock there is the Tracker, and I love the pattern in that wood. I'm not sure what kind of wood it is, but it's absolutely beautiful pattern. Well, after a little inspection and cleanup, we took it to the range. First, we checked her out at 10 yards just to make sure she functioned well, and everything seemed to be shooting fairly straight. Beautiful day on the range, no wind. We were shooting Winchester Super X 20 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 3/4 ounce slugs. The recoil was very acceptable with that recoil pad and the 20 gauge. I felt pretty comfortable shooting that. The slug gun operated flawlessly. There were no hang-ups, no problems, no misfires, worked just fine. And everything seemed to be in order. I shot 3 times at this target. It took a little bit to sort out what was wads and what was the slug holes. I want to believe that clover leaf is my 3 slugs, but that one hole down there at about 7 o'clock looks like it could be a slug hole. But even if it is, it's only a couple inches low, and I was really happy with that little first round of shooting. So now I figured I'd try it at 25 yards. We're using the same ammunition. I'm going to sit down and use a rest this time because I'm getting kind of tired. I am old. And I found this smoothbore tracker real easy to shoot. I think this is one of my most pleasant recent shooting experiences I've had. I've been looking for one of these for a while and found one, and so far I'm very happy with it. And I know that the rifle barrels are probably more accurate. And if I was a serious hunter, I'd probably want one of those to make sure that my shots landed where I needed them to. But I'm more of a traditionalist and a shooter. I might hunt a little bit with this, but not a lot. And I just kind of prefer the smooth bores, just mainly because of tradition. And mostly I shoot hogs anyway, and my shots are usually done real close. Now we'll look at that 25-yard target, and I'm real happy with that. With my eyes the way they are, sights are always a little bit blurry to me, so I was pretty happy to get that at 25 yards. Now, a lot of us don't have slug guns, but you can shoot slugs out of any topper. So what I wanted to try was shoot this Model 58 with just a bead sight and a modified choke and see how it did. One thing I noticed firing the 58, and it's the same with the 88, is that you don't have that groove for a back sight. The Model 148 has a nice deep groove. The 158 has at least a little bit of a groove, but the 88s and 58s don't have any groove at all. It acts kind of like a rear sight. This Model 58 does not have a recoil pad, and after a few rounds, I have to admit I did notice that. Well, this Model 58 with a bead sight did shoot a tight group, all within a couple inches, but they were way low and left. They were low by about 6 inches and left by about 4 inches. So since the group was tight, I decided I'd adjust with a little Kentucky windage and just aim high and to the right and see if I could get close to the center of that target. And I'll be darned, it worked pretty good. That round fell just a little bit to the right of the bullseye. I was really happy with that, and I think it just goes to show that if you're using your regular topper with a bead sight, you can shoot slugs in it. You don't absolutely have to go out and buy another gun. And then for fun, I fired a 20 gauge slug, some number 3 buck, and some number 7.5 bird shot at 15 yards. I was off to the left a little bit with the slug, but it looked pretty decent. 19 of the 20 number 3 buckshot got on the target, and the pattern for the bird shot doesn't even look that bad. So 15 yards, I think, is pretty effective. Well, I've been really happy with this NEF Tracker. I think she's going to be a good shooter and a nice collectible gun. If you've had experiences with the smooth bore slug gun by H&R or NEF, you can tell us about it in the comments below. Or if you want to see your gun and story on one of our Topper Folks features, send it to topperfolkshr@gmail.com. Thanks for visiting the Topper Shotgun Collector Project. Shoot safe and be kind.